Okay, so we are going to get started here. And the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to welcome you to Twitter 101 for political activists. And we are hosting this from Dimcast. I'm Lori Coleman. I'm the Digital Director of Strategy for Dimcast USA. If you have not checked us out, you can go to dimcastusa.com. We're a grassroots organization that is working to expand digital amplification of pro-blue messaging up and down the ballot and across every state. First, I'm going to launch a little poll here, and I'd like for you to rate yourself as a Twitter user. If you're a beginner, I just got here. Maybe you're a medium, feel pretty good, but still need to know a lot. I know enough to be dangerous. Feel pretty comfortable, but still have some questions. Or you are an expert. And if you're an expert, get with me after this and you can help me teach the class next time. All right. Give everybody a minute to vote here. All right, looks like we have about 50% who voted, and we're right in the middle of medium comfort level, so that's good to know. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Okay. You should also be able to, in the chat box, you should be able to raise your hand, and you should be able to talk or post questions. So the next thing I'd like for you to do is, if you have a specific question that you would like to make sure that is answered on this webinar, if you would go ahead and type it into the chat box now. I will be monitoring that for questions as they come up, and hopefully I'll be able to answer some of your questions today. All right, so I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, so you should be able to see my screen now. And let me put this over here where I can watch it. All right, I will be answering all of your questions in this webinar. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is your profile. So if you're new to Twitter, when you first log in and you start a Twitter account, it would look something like this person right here. So you can see there's no picture. There's this list of random numbers after their name, and there's nothing in their bio, so we don't know anything about them. So one of the things I always recommend is that you do have a bio picture of some kind. It doesn't have to be your face. It could be a picture of your cat, your dog, you know, flowers, something that speaks to you. But having something, not having something here, those people are called having an egg, which means they don't have an avatar. And typically, we would look at this sort of profile as either someone who is new to Twitter and doesn't know what they're doing, or there's a bot. So an account that's just added to drag people. The nice thing about, let's say, this next one here is we've got a picture, we've got her name. Again, that's your choice. We've got the little blue wave icons that tells us that this person is probably a Democrat. And then we've got, things that that she stands for. And, if you're thinking about, you see somebody who tweets and you go to their profile and you see, something about them there, then that would tend to make people want to follow you back. It's a very minimal screen. Um, but you can't tell from this if they're an account that might be nefarious of some kind. But so somebody asked, how do you get a blue wave icon? So that would just be in your when you go to your name. If I were to edit my profile here, and then if you have if you're on your phone, you should have an emoji keyboard. If you are on a Windows, you hit the Windows button and the period button together, and that brings up an icon here. And if I type wave, I get the wave. So that's how you would add an icon to your name or into your bio. Okay. This is where you would change your name. This is where you would change your bio, if you had a website, etc. Okay. And then you would save, and that would save your changes. Okay. Now, changing your @name, your handle is what we call this. That requires going into settings. So if you auto-generated a name that has the string of numbers after it, then you would need to go over into settings. And go into username, and this is where you would change it from that number here. That's where you would change it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so your avatar, if you want to change either your banner or your avatar, that is in your edit profile options here. And this is where I would change, and it would open up, pictures that I have as options to change that to. And that is also the same thing that I could change my banner here as well. Okay. All right. Now, the next thing that I would suggest that you have is I would suggest that you have a pinned tweet. Now, if someone visits your profile and wants to know what you're about, then the very first tweet at the top, you can keep whatever tweet that you want to here, okay? So the way that you do that is when you tweet something, let's say I wanted to make this my pinned tweet, I would go down to this little down arrow here, and I would choose pin to my profile. And when I chose that, it would make this one go away. Okay. But I always recommend that you have a pinned tweet. because it's kind of your way to say, hey, this is what's important to me. Okay. If you're tired of that pinned tweet, again, you could take it off. You just hit that little down arrow and you say unpin from profile. Now this does look slightly different on a phone or mobile device. But if you play around, you'll figure out it's either this down arrow here or the little share here that gets you able to pin that tweet. All right. Just some things to think about. You know, with Twitter, Twitter is forever. No matter how quickly you delete something, it can always be found again. There's actually an archive of deleted tweets for everybody. So just be careful about, you know, maybe not tweeting out things that would include personally identifying information, you know, a picture of your car's license plate or your dog's tags that have your phone number on it, or just watch that you know, you don't want to necessarily do that. And let's see. Okay. You can choose to do what's called protect your account. And when I go into settings and privacy, this is an option here to protect your tweets. If you do that, then what will happen is there will be a little lock icon. And if anybody who wants to see your tweets, you have to approve for them to follow you. Now, really, that kind of negates the point of Twitter because, you know, unless you're in a secret job that people can't, you don't want people to see what you do, or you're having some sort of security issue. Really, the point of Twitter is public discourse. So having a locked account does not really help that. Joanne, you ask if the tweets are archived even if you run tweet delete. Yes, they are. Okay. All right. If you have a busy Twitter account, notifications are something that you can control. If you want to, number one, you probably do not want to have Twitter emailing you every time somebody comments or posts. So you can turn that off. Okay. And I recommend that you do that. You can also control if you get text messages and if you get push notifications. So again, that's something that I don't necessarily recommend that you do. Now, there are other ways to control notifications within your mobile device, you know, badges and banners and things like that. And there's also ways to control notifications within particular direct message groups, which we'll talk about in just a minute. Okay. Another notification that can be really good is to be notified when another account tweets. So let's say I want to know what Manu Raju is tweeting about. And so if you go to his profile, and again, on a mobile device, it's going to be kind of buried up here in the banner, so you have to look carefully for it. But here on the desktop, it's really easy to see. I can, oh, whoops, I have to follow him first. Once I follow him, you see how the little bell pops up. So if you want to get a notification every time, you do that bell, and then every time that he tweets, you will get a notification. Karen, a push notification is when you do not have the app open, but you get notified anyway. Okay, so on my personal account, not on the Demcast account, I actually have my news account with a notification. Okay, you do have to follow the account to do that though. All right. Okay. Just looking to make sure that we're going to hit all of these questions. Okay. Let's look at followers and following. So what we call this right here is we call the follow ratio. So you have the people who are following you and then who you're following and the people who are following you. And you always want to make sure that you are following less than the people who are following you, or at least equal. If you are an account that has less than 5,000 followers, you will be limited in the number of people that you can follow up to 5,000. Okay. So once you are following 5,000 here, you won't be able to follow anybody else until you have parity with the number of people who are also following you. There are some ways to manage that if you would like to follow more than that, and that's through using your lists on Twitter. I don't know if we'll have time to go over that tonight, but we'll do that in another webinar, probably Twitter 102. But using lists is a way to sort of thin down the people that so you don't have to follow them, but you can still see what it is that they're doing. Okay. All right. So people ask, who to follow, and when Trump first got elected, there was something that was very popular called the follow back resistance, which basically meant we were trying to build community. And so we would have parties where we just followed everybody and they would follow us back, and built up somewhat of a following at that point. However, we don't recommend that you really do that anymore. Number one, people, those type of parties and that FBR or follow back resistance got infiltrated by some people that were there just to cause trouble. So we recommend that you vet your followers before you follow them back. And just like I said, an easy, very brief way to look at that is to take a look at let's see, let me go down here to this. Well, there's our little person here. Okay, here's a different person, Bunny Rabbit. So this is, again, one of those people. And again, Bunny Rabbit might be a perfectly fine, normal person. If I look here, we don't know anything about this person, right? The first thing I would look at is when they joined. So they joined last month, and they've tweeted 4,500 times. And that's a fair amount of tweets in that time period. That might make me think that they're automated in some way. The other thing you can look here is, did they have the same amount? And if I go over to likes or media, what do I see? So this person is a lurker at best. So this person has not tweeted anything. Everything that they've done here, they have retweeted. Okay. So again, this is probably not an account that I would follow back, just because of sort of these red flags. Why does Twitter say someone is following me, but the detailed list of followers is empty? It shouldn't be. That might be a Twitter. Um, that might be a Twitter glitch because you should be able to see them. Would I block them? I honestly, this person, I probably would not block them. I hardly ever block anybody on my account anymore, unless it's a MAGA person that outs themselves. um, but you certainly could. It's one thing that you can do is you can, if you wanted to block them, if you block them and then unblock them, it forces them to unfollow you. So if it's somebody maybe you don't want to permanently block, but you want them to stop following you, if you block them and then unblock them, they won't be following you anymore. Okay. All right. If we wanted to see if Bunny has actually tweeted anything here, I could go up here and look to see by typing in from colon their handle. Okay, so now they have tweeted some things. You know, again, that's just some that these look okay to me. So it would just be up to you, but that's how you could look to see if someone has actually like done any actual tweets themselves instead of just retweeting other people. Let's see. If you would rather not see anything from this person, you could also, and I don't want to pick on Bunny for too long here, but anybody, you could just push mute. When you do that, you wouldn't see any tweets from them in your timeline. You wouldn't see any replies that they made to you. They won't know that they're muted. They could know that they're blocked if they went to the profile and were blocked. But that would be, an option that you have. Okay, let's get off poor Bunny because she might be a perfectly normal person. But again, that's probably somebody who doesn't understand sort of the rules of Twitter and how you look like a real person. Okay. All right. Let's talk about some of our questions here. We have several questions on groups and Twitter rooms and how we make them. Okay, so let's talk about those. Within Twitter, you have the ability to message someone. And so if let's say I want to message Nick here, the way I would do that is I would either go to my messenger icon over here in my settings or my short menu list, or I would go directly to his. And so here I am sending him a message. Okay, that would send him a message, just a one-on-one message from my account to his account. And that would allow us to have a conversation back and forth. That message would show up under this blue icon, this blue envelope icon over here on my left. And also you can see that I have several other messages on this side, okay? Here's somebody who sent me a message. That's an individual. These are groups or rooms, okay? Now, the way that you make a group is you start a new message and you type at least 2 people's name in. So I'm inviting Nick and Jamie to our new group. So you have to add at least 2 people other than yourself to start a new message group, okay? So if the one that I started with Nick, I can't add anybody else to our conversation. But once I add 2 people, now we have a group. And now I can say, hi, camera. Okay. So now I have a message group over here. And you can see it doesn't look like the rest of my message groups, because if you go up to the little I can, let's see, I can change the group. I can put a picture in there. I'll just put a random Dimcast picture in there. And I can rename it Twitter 101 group. Okay. And within that group, now I have some options here. I can add more people here anytime I want to under that information piece. Also, when we were talking about notifications, you've got mute conversation and mute mention. So mute conversation is a way for us not to be notified every time somebody talks in this room. If you have a lot of message groups, you probably don't, if you have notifications on at all, you probably don't want to have, you know, a badge notification on your phone every time somebody drops a message in a room. Okay. Now, the other question here, the other option here is mute mentions. And a mention is when you are in a group and you type in somebody's handle. Let's see, I'm gonna do Nick. So because I have typed in his handle, he would, if he doesn't have that turned off, he would get a special notification that says, you know, that he's wanted in this room. Okay. I'm actually going to add my personal account to this room. And for those of you that are on Twitter, I'm assuming you all are, if you would like to go ahead and drop your so your handle, in the chat box just to me, if you would like. If you're following the Dimcast account, I will add you to this Twitter 101 group. And that way you can have access to us to ask some additional questions and really help us hone our webinar for future people who take this class. Okay? All right. Now, the point of groups is to organize. And so on Twitter, as you can see over here, the way that Dimcast organizes is by state. And so, for example, here in California, we have multiple California rooms, so we have named them by how many rooms we have. So this is where we, you know, collect and talk to people and share information, share tweets that we're interested in amplifying. Okay. All right. Look at all y'all. Okay. Perfect. So And again, I'll just show you, how I would add people, is I would go to the add people and I would just start. Okay, so oops. Okay, so here you can see that when I pull up Catherine's name, she can't be messaged. And the reason why I cannot add her to this group is because she does not follow the Dimcast account. Okay, so if you guys would like to be in this room, make sure that when this is over, you go and follow the @Dimcast USA account, and we will add you in here. Okay. If you are in a group like this and you decide you have a fight with somebody in the room and you decide to block them, that does not just block them from Twitter, from your Twitter, it blocks them out of the group. So we do, you do have to be careful about realizing that if somebody suddenly leaves a chat room, it might not have been under their own, under their own will. They may have been escorted out by being blocked out. So we try to watch for that. Okay. All right. So I'll just type this in, Dimcast USA, and that's the one that you'll want to follow so that I can add you in if you'd like to be added into this group. All right. Since there seem to be quite a few questions on groups and Twitter rooms, are there specific questions about that? Okay, if you create a group, the group name is limited. I think it only lets you have a certain number of characters up here, but it's got nothing to do with tweeting or anything like that. Twitter groups are limited to 50 people. So when I go and add people here, I can only add up to 50 people in this group. And that's why you can see over here we have, Texas 2 and Texas 5 and 6. And that's because we can only fit 50 people in a room. And to be honest, if you have, just think about if you had 40 people in a room and they're all talking, it can get a little crazy. So probably 35 to 40 is about as many as you'd want in a room that people are talking and chatting in. Okay. So the way that there are these groups on Twitter, the question is, how do I join it? You can't join it. You have to be added by somebody. Okay, so if you will follow the Dimcast USA account and you listed your Twitter name up in the chat, then I will add you to this room. Okay. If you get added to a group that you do not want to be in, you would go to the little icon and you would leave the conversation, and that just takes you out of the group. You can't get back in unless somebody adds you back. Okay, once you're gone, you're gone. There's a question about what are the rules of the Twitter group. Well, it depends. It depends on who's running the group. I'm in several message groups that there aren't any rules. People chat and talk and don't do much sharing. And then I've got some other ones where that are more structured and more, that have more rules to them. So it just depends on, sort of the guidance of what we call the room owner. So the room owner here would be the first, if you go to this information, when you look at this, you'll see Dimcast USA is the administrator. I can't see it from here because I am the administrator of this room, the account that I'm in, but you will see it when you get added. So if you get added to a group, what you'll do is when you log on, let's say on your computer, when you go to messages, you will see the group that you've been added in these messages. Okay. So for me, I have quite a few, but you may only have one or two. Okay. And then you would click on the one where you wanted to chat. So I'll click out. I'll click back in. This is the one I want to talk in, and this would be here. So, do people create Twitter rooms solely to boost posts? So I'll say a word about that. You do want to be careful because Twitter rules are very specific about not manipulating the platform. You can certainly, and we'll go into here because this is a room where we share a lot of tweets. And there will be talking in here, and you can see that there's a variety of different things, okay? But specifically, Twitter has said that if they see a pattern of people only tweeting a certain group of people, or if you drop the same tweet or in a message and without texting or adding any comments to it, and you do that too often, Twitter can flag you as spamming, doing a spam message. And so you just need to be careful about mixing it up a little bit with chat and tweets in there, right? But yes, certainly one of the functions of a Twitter room can be to share tweets so that other people can amplify it. Let's see. Right. Okay. Anybody else have a question about managing these rooms? Wasn't that how the Republicans dominated Twitter in 2016? I don't know that really. I don't think so, actually. I think those were mostly automated accounts, and they used several different things. They used what's called TweetDeck at that point. You could have multiple people on your teams, and you could send the same message throughout all of their accounts and hit a button, and all of their accounts would tweet the exact same thing. That would now get flagged by Twitter as platform manipulation. So, but that's something that they did not monitor for. And that's why when you wake up in the morning and you see that something has trended, an American topic has trended overnight by 6 a.m. on the East Coast, you will probably, it's probably an overnight bot farm that's driving that hashtag. Okay. All right. Good question, though. All right. So let's talk about tweeting. All right. So if I want to tweet, the first thing I want to say about tweeting is you need to tweet yourself from your account, and not just replies, but you need to generate some of your own content. And the reason that's important is because if you want to have people follow you, they are going to follow you because you offer a unique perspective on what's going on. And so your tweet needs to have some content to it. And you don't have to do a lot of individual tweets. I will tell you one thing that I did was I retweet a lot. I'm in a lot of different groups, so I try to boost the content. But also I try to write at least one original substantive tweet twice a day. So it doesn't have to be a lot. It could just be a little bit. Okay. So the basics of tweeting is you have 280 characters here to fill in your tweet. So every space, every period counts as a character, and every emoji counts as 2 characters. When you tweet, everybody who follows you could have the opportunity to see your tweet. So what does that mean? It's going to appear on their timeline. It's going to appear once on their timeline unless somebody else that they follow retweets it. So the average, anybody want to guess how long the average tweet, the tweet lifespan is on Twitter? How long does a tweet live? Anybody want to guess? Come on, give me a guess. Here we go. 2 seconds, 20 minutes, an hour, 0.0005 seconds. Okay, it's about 15 minutes. So, you know, sort of my thing to you guys is if you spend more than 15 minutes writing your tweet, you probably spent longer than your tweet will last. So I don't recommend that you, you know, labor over it for hours and hours. Now, when you write a tweet, let's say I want to just copy and paste a little bit of that, a little bit of text over here. So I want to copy and paste this. So here's, you know, some of the text of what we're talking about today. So you can see that as I've gone over the character limit, I went over the character limit by a lot. My advice to you when you're writing a tweet is don't worry about the character limit. Write what you want to say and then decide how you want to edit it down. That's just, I mean, that's just my personal preference. But you have this huge block of text here. That's not very, that does not draw people in. So if my text was like this, and then this, people will be more likely to read this than they will this huge block of text. So you need to put in some spaces there if you have more than 2 or 3 sentences, really. We got some more questions. Can you list only your tweets without retweets? Are you asking if you only want your tweets to show up on your timeline and not just things you retweeted? The answer to that is no. That's all going to show up here. Okay, so once I see I've got way more here text than is going to be allowed, the next thing I could do is if I feel like, boy, this is really important, I really want to make sure everybody sees this, then there's a little plus sign here, and it's going to add a second tweet, and I can paste in what else I wanted to tweet here. Now, it's still too long, so I'm going to take this part off, and I'm going to cut it out, and I will finish this tweet up here. And this is what's called a thread. You can do this before you tweet in this way, or if we tweet something out, then we can also go back and respond to the first tweet and add another thread. threaded tweet to it. Okay. Question about how often do you use threads? Do you advise against overusing? There are some mega thread users out there. I would say that most of the time when you write a thread, only the first tweet gets retweeted. There are some times that people will retweet on down the line, but usually they will most likely. Oh, tweet all means I'm going to tweet all of these tweets here because I've added, and they're going to all tweet together. Okay. Now, if I don't want to do that, I decide, oh, I really don't want to have a threaded tweet. I can then just delete text here and delete the tweet. And now I'm back up here to this. Okay. If you want to use an emoji, like I said, it takes up 2 characters. So just make sure that you're accounting for that and don't overdo it. I think it can start to look a little bit juvenile when you're doing that. Really, people tend to, write in some very like shorthand sort of text language, trying to keep their character limit down. And I would again advise not doing that. The more that somebody has to look at a tweet and try to figure out what it is you're saying, the less that they're likely to tweet it. So if you need, again, if you need more space, then, hit that bottom plus arrow and go ahead and add in what you need. Now with the tweets, you have the options of adding a picture, a GIF, a poll, and this is your emoji if you wanted to add that. You want tweets that have a picture or a GIF are 3 times more likely to get retweeted. Tweets that have a video are 7 times more likely to get retweeted. So if you can add in a visual of some kind to your tweet, it does tend to get better traction. Okay. The question is, how many tweets or retweets per day is too many? If you were a business, I would say, a handful is probably enough. As an activist, you can tweet all day long if you want to and have the time. I have had a couple of people in my past, because I tweet a lot and retweet, have messaged me that I'm tweeting too much. And those people usually only follow a few people, and that means all they see on their homepage is, me tweeting. So most of the time, people don't care. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Do I recommend spreading tweets out? Not necessarily. However, if you tweet too quickly, like if you tweeted 10 tweets in a minute or 2, then Twitter could flag you as an automated account, and you don't want, and they could limit your reach. So don't do that. Most people don't do that unless they're participating in like a tweet storm or a social media blast, which is something that is beyond Twitter 101, but we will cover it on another class. Is it bad form to share or copy someone's tweet and then paste it on someone else's timeline? No, not necessarily. People do that all the time. And by that I mean they take the actual tweet and copy it and put it in a response to somebody else's comment, which might be, hey, here's a great explainer thread on the ACA since you have questions, something like that. But it is very bad form to copy the text of somebody's tweet and tweet it out like you wrote it. That is frowned upon. As far as when you should be tweeting, I'm going to say that it really depends. I have seen, again, most of the analytics around when you should tweet have to do more with businesses. So in my experience, the early morning time, the 7 to 9-ish time, so before people leave to go to work, sometime around noon, 11 to 2, and then sometime in the evening, 7 to 9, something like that. Okay. When is it better to reply versus to retweet with comment? So let's take a look at that. Oops. And so if you come to the Dimcast Twitter and you see this kick butt video that we've got, and you want everybody you know to see it, okay? Then you want to do what's called retweet with comment if you want to ask everybody who follows you to watch this video. And that's when you have something significant to add to this, okay? You wouldn't just normally say something like, wow, this is great, but it would be more substantive here. If you just want to say, hey, wow, this is great, that's when you would respond to it. And somebody asked a question earlier that we haven't gotten to, but if I respond here, it won't show if another account besides Dimcast, so if it was my account and I responded to this, the reply would show up on my timeline, but the original tweet and my reply would show up on the home line. Okay, so if I go to home, we'll probably be able to see an example of this. Let's see. So here's an example of a quote tweet or tweet with comment. Christine is making comments here. Okay, so here Stephen is saying a comment here about it's a hoax, and you can see the tweet that he's replying to. Okay. So hopefully that makes some sense. Okay. I think that the question about how do you frame tweets, we're going to have another webinar, I think it's Saturday, about really expanding more about like how to tweet and how to do it in an engaging way. So I would recommend that you attend that. And expanding your following kind of goes along with that, because the more that you tweet and do original tweets with original commentary, the more people will follow you. And you can do that as a reply to someone. You can do that, as a standalone tweet or with a retweet with comment, but I think it's important to do that. Okay. the question here about is the Demcast hashtag. So we're going to spend just the last few minutes here looking at hashtags. So hashtags are the basically the way to find things on Twitter. So if I want to look at, and I'll be biased since we're on Demcast, I'll go ahead and look at the Demcast hashtag. So when I do that, I have the option of looking to see what's the top recent retweeted under this, okay? So this could go back months even. I can also look at the latest. And here I can see this person is tweeting with the Demcast hashtag. Under people, I'll see anybody who has the hashtag Demcast in their handle. Okay. Photos will be ones that are tagged, so tweets that are tagged with the Demcast hashtag, and then same with videos. So if you think about the Demcast or any kind of hashtag, if you're going to use a hashtag, first off, you might want to look at the hashtag to see what it really means, because it might not mean what you think it means. So let's see. I might just look. Yeah. Okay. So, but we want to search before you use it. There is no way to stop people from using a hashtag. So if you are looking, if you look for example, let's say I did, I'm looking at COVID. Anybody who hashtagged something with a COVID-19, and I look at the latest here, this could be disinformation, it could be information. There's no way to tell, what's here. It would be your job to identify whether this was here you go. This guy has tweeted this, that's obviously not true, number one, but it doesn't add anything to the discussion. So, you can look to see what's being, here you go, what's being tweeted about it, okay? All right. How do you post a video clip? So a video clip is, let me go back to here because here is a video clip. Now, the only way to do it on the computer is if you bring it in from a YouTube posting. To retweet this video embedded into autoplay, you have to be on a mobile device. And what you would do is you would long click on the video itself, and it'll pop up, and you will see an option underneath it to retweet the video. And when you do that, it's going to just populate a new tweet with the video link in it. But you cannot do it from the computer. I don't know why. It's just one of those questions. Okay. All right. I think we answered all of those. Okay, let me look back real quick and see if there's any other burning questions. I think we've probably hit it all. So the upcoming trainings that we have so far, we do have one, a Twitter training for candidates. But we also um, have a writing effective tweets, which will go much more into how to write tweets. I think one of the questions was, how do I make a tweet go viral? I unfortunately can't answer that question. Tweets go viral for some unknown reason generally. It could be that, somebody with 1 million followers liked it and retweeted it. It could be that you just hit the right tone at the right minute, and it gets a momentum of its own, and people start liking and retweeting it over and over again. So but we will talk about really how to make your tweets more effective and interesting, and make people want to retweet your content. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys for coming. Thank you for your questions that you've had. We've got some, okay. And I will be adding you to the Twitter 101 room. So as you have follow-up questions or comments, you'll be able to put those in there, and we'll be around to help you, okay? And please feel free to go to dimcast.com and look at our trainings. Our trainings are listed there, and they're being up, being added, as we schedule them. And we're really focusing on trying to train people on digital skills right now, because we know how important it is, and people have time to learn them. If you've enjoyed our video, if you would be interested in supporting our work, we have a donate button on our webpage, and we are completely grassroots funded. So we appreciate any little help that you can send us. All right. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful evening. Bye.